today, once after the jurors get sworn. So we're going to round up those officers and they'll get sworn momentarily right after the jury gets sworn. So when they're ready, Terry, let me know, and then we'll bring in the jury.
Yes, Judge.
Are both sides ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
No request, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. The trial goes sometime. A jury will be brought in, they'll be sworn, officers will be sworn. I'll read some preliminary jury instructions. State will read the indictment. If they choose, they can make an opening statement and consent. So if the plaintiff wishes to make an opening statement, we'll do it then too. We're going to go right into proof. And I want to stretch. Better do it now, because otherwise we're going to be bored for the session for quite some time.
Everyone's ready, sir.
Everyone's ready back there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, bring the jury. Feel free to sit wherever you want. There will be one chair that's kind of off to the end there. If anybody particularly big, over 6 feet, you just stretch your legs, that might be a good chair for you. That'll be her chair. All right, please be seated. Welcome again to Chattanooga. Welcome to the courtroom. As you can see, it's the exact opposite where we were last week, or how the court was laid out. So it feels a little to. That's how we felt all last week. Hope you had a restful night last night. We already started the trial momentarily. And with that, I'll have you all stand and raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear or affirm to well and truly try the issues and traverse herein, joined between the state of Tennessee and the defendant, Jason Chen, upon a true bill of indictment charging him with the offense of first-degree murder, abuse of a corpse, a true deliverance made, and a true verdict rendered, according to the law and evidence, so help you God.
If you see, got a little bit of a taste, I'm sorry, I put in front of you in some way. You're in court now. There will be a lot of times like this morning where we spent basically all morning in pre-trial matters. So be prepared. There will be some times where we ask you to step out. Be patient with us. So we'll work the matters that in the end save time for everyone. I'm going to tell you to bring the officers in that district. Just all stand in front of the jury. All right, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that you will take charge of this jury, keep them separate and apart from all persons, not allow them to communicate in any manner with anyone or anyone with them, as it concerns the matter on trial, nor with you, nor you with them, that you will deliver them safely into court, so help you God. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the defendant has been charged by the state of Tennessee with violation of state law. The document containing the charges is referred to as a presentment. A presentment is a formal accusation charging a defendant with one or more criminal offenses. The presentment does not constitute evidence. Presentment 315-228 charges the defendant with two offenses: first-degree premeditated murder and abuse of a corpse. These offenses and any lesser included offenses will be defined for you later in the trial. To presentment 315-228, the defendant pleads not guilty. The defendant is presumed to be innocent of the charges against him. He may not be found guilty unless, after hearing all the evidence, arguments, and instructions of law, the 12 jurors seated in this case unanimously find the state has proven its case beyond reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is defined as that doubt created by an investigation of all the proof in the case and an inability after such investigation to let the mind rest easily as to the certainty of guilt. Absolute certainty of guilt is not demanded by the law to convict of any criminal charge. Moral certainty is required, and this certainty is required as to every element of proof necessary to constitute the defense. The state carries the burden of proving the guilt of the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt. This burden remains on the state throughout the case. The defendant is not required to prove his innocence, produce any evidence, or make any statements or arguments. You, as jurors, must decide whether the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant has committed the offenses charged in the presentment. You must base that decision only on the evidence presented during this trial and the court's instructions about the applicable law to be applied. Next will be the parties' opening statements. The state will describe the evidence it intends to present so that you will have an idea of what the state's case is about. Opening statement itself is not evidence. It operates to help you understand the evidence that will be presented during the trial. After the state's opening statement, the defense may make an opening statement. Then comes the state's case in chief, during which the state will present its evidence. The evidence will most likely consist of physical exhibits, documents, and the testimony of witnesses. The witnesses will testify by answering questions asked by the lawyers for the parties. Jurors, you will be allowed to ask witnesses questions. Any juror who has a question for a witness should put your question or questions in writing. Let Felix or the court officers know. The questions will remain anonymous and should not include your name. The court will consult with the parties outside your hearing and decide how and whether the question should be asked. I may ask the juror's question in whole, or in part, or may change the wording of the question. This is very important. You shall not give any meaning to any question that was not asked, or that the meaning of the word has been changed. The question might not have been asked because doing so would be unfair to the defense. Your question might not be asked because it would be unfair to the state. The question might not be asked because both lawyers have decided not to ask the question. The question might be asked because another witness might be better suited to answer your question. But here's the takeaway. You cannot speculate as to why one of your questions was not asked, or why it was asked in a different form. It could be for a number of very important reasons, or not so important reasons. But one thing is for certain, speculating would definitely be unfair to someone. That's why you cannot speculate on why a question was not asked. After the state completes its case in chief, the defendant may present evidence. Again, the defendant is not required to put on any evidence or to testify. The burden always remains on the state to establish that the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. After you've heard all the evidence, you will receive written instructions about the rules of law that you are to use. Finally, the parties will be offered an opportunity to present closing arguments. During closing arguments, the parties will summarize their cases and help you understand the evidence. As with opening statements, closing arguments are not evidence. At that point, the final 12 jurors will leave the courtroom together as a group. You'll then begin your deliberations in the jury room. It will be your job to determine what the facts are from the evidence. You must then apply the law as will be provided to you in the court's instructions to the facts. From that application, you will arrive at a verdict. Your deliberations will be in secret, and you will not be required to explain your verdicts to anyone. Your role as jurors includes making judgments about witness testimony. In making that decision of credibility of witnesses, you may ask yourself questions like, did the witness impress you as honest? Did the witness have any particular reason not to tell the truth? Did the witness have a personal interest in the outcome of the case? Did the witness have a good memory of the relevant events? Did the witness have the opportunity and ability to observe accurately the relevant events? Did the witness appear to understand the question clearly, answering directly? And did the witness's testimony differ from the testimony of other witnesses? Do not base your verdict on the fact that there were more witnesses on one side than the other. Your job is to consider the testimony of each witness you heard and decide the facts. Circumstantial evidence and direct evidence constitute the basic types of evidence. Direct evidence is direct proof of a fact, such as testimony of an eyewitness. Circumstantial evidence is proof of facts from which you may infer that other facts exist. Both types of evidence carry equal value under the law. You will not receive a transcript of the testimony at the end of the trial. I'm going to repeat that. You will not receive a transcript of the testimony at the end of the trial. That means that you must listen very carefully to the witnesses as they testify. You're not required to take notes. If you wish, you may take notes during the trial for your own use. You have been provided a pen and paper if you decide to take notes. Both the state and the defendant deserve a fair trial. Accordingly, you must make your decision based only upon the evidence presented in the courtroom. Any juror who engages in independent research about persons or matters relating to the case violates the fairness of the trial. This has been a sequestered jury, so you will not have access to any electronics. But it's important that you know that until you retire to deliberate, you must not discuss the case even with your fellow jurors. After you retire to deliberate, you may begin discussing the case with your fellow jurors only. You must not discuss the case with anyone other than your fellow jurors until you have returned the verdict and the case is at an end. One of the things that comes up every now and then over the days is sometimes jurors will feel like they have to talk to the case about someone, so they'll talk to a court officer about it. You can't do that either. You can't talk to the court officer about general procedure, defendants in general, so you can talk about anything other than this case and criminal procedure, the lawyers, parties, whose court as well. If you find the defendant guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, there will be a sentencing hearing, after which you will determine for the offense of first-degree premeditated murder, the defendant should be sentenced premeditated murder, the court will set the punishment at a separate sentencing hearing. The jury will not be involved in setting the punishment for any offense other than the first degree premeditated murder. And for your information, again, as I said in Nashville last week, this is not a death penalty case. At times during the trial, a party may make an objection. This simply means that the party is requesting a decision by the court on a particular rule of law. Do not draw any conclusions from the fact that an objection is made or from the ruling on that objection. The rulings only relate to the legal guidance that the court must provide to lawyers and should not influence your thinking. If an objection to a question is sustained, do not attempt to guess what the answer might have been had the witness been permitted to give it. Similarly, you will receive instructions not to consider a particular statement that was made, and you should therefore put that statement out of your mind, and you may not refer to that statement in your later deliberations. Finally, during the course of trial, we may have to halt proceedings to confer about the rules of law that should apply. We may have bench conferences in the courtroom outside of your hearing. For more complex issues, you may be moved to the jury room. These conferences resolve legal issues and guide our trial proceedings, so please remain patient because in the long run, it's save time for everyone. This completes my opening comments to you. General Ray, ready to read the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor. State of Tennessee, Criminal Court for Hamilton County, 2023. Count 1, the grand jurors upon their oath do present that Jason Chen, on or about the 23rd day of November 2022, in Hamilton County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this indictment, did unlawfully, intentionally, and with premeditation, inflict mortal injuries on Jasmine Pace, which resulted in the death of Jasmine Pace on or about the 23rd day of November 2023, in violation of Tennessee Code Annotated 39-13-202, against the peace and dignity of the state.
How does Mr. Chen plead to count 1? Not guilty. General?
Count 2, the grand jurors upon their oath do present that Jason Chen, on or about the 23rd day of November 2022, in Hamilton County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this indictment, did knowingly, without legal privilege, physically mistreat a corpse in a manner offensive to the sensibilities of an ordinary person, or disposed of a corpse in a manner known to be in violation of the law, in violation of Tennessee Code Annotated 39-17-312, against the peace and dignity of the state. This indictment, I'm sorry, Judge. This indictment was signed by the District Attorney General and was filed with the clerk of the courts on March the 23rd, 2023.
How does Mr. Chen plead to count 2? Not guilty.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the suitcase in which Jason Chen stuffed the 98-pound body of Jasmine Pace. That's where I'm going to begin the story. Except I want you to remember that as you hear evidence in the next week, that this is not a story like the one that you read in the novel where you have to imagine the appearances of characters. The evidence that you will hear in this case is very real. The evidence will not require that you use your imagination. Jasmine Pace was very real. And Jason Chen really killed her. The suitcase was located in a brushy area just yards from the bank of the Tennessee River and right off of Suck Creek Road. In it was the body of Jasmine Pace, who had been placed in a fetal position inside of 3 black trash bags. Her right ankle was handcuffed to her right wrist. Her left ankle had been shackled to her right arm. Her wounds were extensive. You will hear from Dr. Cogswell, the medical examiner for Hamilton County, who will describe those wounds in great detail. He stabbed her over and over and over again, not 7 times, not 29 times, not 43 times, but 60 stab wounds. One wound, a through and through, from the right side of the neck all the way through the left. Another so deeply penetrated her rib cage that the tip of the knife broke off into her lung. You will see the tip of that knife. The state of Tennessee is required to prove to you 3 elements for first-degree premeditated murder. The first is that Jasmine was intentionally killed. The second is that it was with premeditation. You will hear facts and evidence. You will see photos. You will hear from witnesses that allow you to believe beyond a reasonable doubt that she was intentionally killed and that premeditation was involved. But the third element is that the state of Tennessee has to prove that he did it. I'm going to start from the beginning. The two of them had been seeing each other, Jason and Jasmine. On Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, the week of Thanksgiving, Jasmine left her home and drove to Jason's apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment where he lived by himself. She was never heard from again after November 23rd. After November 23rd, 2022, her friends and family never heard from her. She never returned home, and she missed Thanksgiving. Like most families would, they knew something was wrong. You will learn that Jasmine's family quickly suspected that Jason Chen had something to do with her disappearance. Despite the family's best efforts to get the police department involved, initially the Chattanooga Police Department was of no help. Jasmine's family was forced to take matters into their own hands. So, on November 26th, 2022, you will learn that Jasmine's family broke into his apartment. You will hear that. You will hear that they were trying to find their daughter and their sister, and that they went in to his apartment. Of course, Jason wasn't there, but what was there? Some of Jasmine's belongings, including her driver's license and her credit cards. You will hear from a mother who was desperate to find her daughter. Eventually, and only because of the relentlessness of Jasmine Pace's family, the Chattanooga Police Department's Homicide Division executed a search warrant at Jason Chen's apartment on November 28, 2022. The missing persons investigation quickly became a homicide investigation when, even despite his best efforts to clean it up, Jasmine's blood was everywhere. Jasmine Pace's blood, upon the execution of the search warrant, was located all over Chen's apartment. It was obvious that Jason had tried to clean it up based on the scene. You'll see those photos. You'll see photos of cleaning products, but you're also going to see video of Jason Chen on November 23rd, 2022, buying cleaning products at multiple locations the same day that Jasmine's friends and family stopped hearing from her. You will learn that homicide investigators located Jasmine's body in this suitcase on the side of Sup Creek Road, in part due to Jason's own cell phone location records. They were able to track Jason using those cell phone location records throughout Chattanooga on the day of the 23rd. Walgreens, Walmart, most likely looking for a place to dump her body. But then eventually, at 6 p.m. on November 23rd, 2022, Jason Chen leaves his apartment with a suitcase. He enters his vehicle and he drives to Suck Creek Road. You will learn of other efforts that Jason took to try to cover his tracks. How he ditched her vehicle in a random apartment complex on Mountain Creek Road so that it was no longer at his apartment building. He sent text messages to Jasmine's phone to try to create an alibi when she was dead inside of his apartment and he was in possession of her phone. You will hear facts of cover-up. You will learn that police never found Jasmine Pace's phone, but they did find her SIM card. The small chip that goes into the side of our phones to store all of our phone's information, her SIM card was located. Where was it? It was in a glasses case inside of Jason Chen's backpack that was in his possession when he was located by the Chattanooga Police Department. And when you think that you have seen enough evidence that Jason Chen killed Jasmine Pace, you will be convinced that he stuffed her body in this suitcase after placing it in trash bags, because you will hear from a fingerprint expert. The fingerprint expert will tell you that Jason Chen's fingerprints were found on the innermost trash bag that surrounded her body. In the first few days of trial, you're going to see a few witnesses that may at first seem confusing to you. Bear with me. They are going to be laying the foundation for evidence that you will see through Chattanooga Police Department homicide investigator Zachary Crawford. Over the course of the upcoming week, the state of Tennessee will prove to you beyond any reasonable doubt that Jason Chen handcuffed, sliced, stabbed, packaged, and discarded Jasmine Pace. I ask that you carefully consider this evidence. The state of Tennessee will give you the dots, and we will help you connect them. At the end of trial, I'm going to humbly ask that you find Jason Chen guilty of murdering Jasmine Pace in the first degree and then abusing her corpse.
told you when we were in Nashville that I wouldn't waste your precious time. I have no intention to waste it during the course of this trial. In the early morning hours of November 23rd, 2022, Jason Chen killed Jasmine Pace. He didn't do it with premeditation. This is a voluntary manslaughter case. Voluntary manslaughter is the intentional or knowing killing of another in a state of passion produced by adequate provocation, sufficient to lead a reasonable person to act in an unreasonable manner. The state told you during jury selection that in order to prove first-degree murder, they don't have to prove that it was a killing, but there wasn't. The state told you in jury selection that they don't have to prove a motive. There isn't. What the state does have to do is prove premeditation. And can't, because there wasn't. Jason Chen is a first-generation Chinese American. He grew up in Elkinsville. His parents worked at a Chinese restaurant, worked very hard bringing him up. Jason graduated from high school and went to college here at Chattanooga, University of Tennessee, at Chattanooga, UTC. In November of 2022, he was a senior with a major in computer science. The year before, he and Jasmine started communicating. They met on Tinder. And after exchanging messages back and forth, they started texting using iMessage. You're going to see the iMessages between Jason and Jasmine. You're going to see how their relationship progressed through these text messages. In 2021, they dated for a few months, but then lost touch. But then about 8 months later, in May of 2022, they rekindled that relationship. They started dating, seeing each other more and more. They obviously got much closer. They traveled to Chicago together that summer. And you're going to see through the text messages, someone was obviously more into this relationship than the other. Jasmine started getting feelings for Jason. And you're going to see through those text messages that Jason didn't reciprocate that as much as she did. Then you come to the week of November 22nd. It was Thanksgiving. Jasmine and her family lost their grandmother. She was in grief. And on the night of November 22nd, around 11 p.m., she came over to Jason's house. And they did what they always do. They drink wine, smoke pot, smoke wax, watch movies, and do what 22-year-olds do. On the night of November the 22nd, they were drinking wine in the back bedroom. You're going to see pictures of the apartment. This apartment is 500 square feet. You can get from the front door to the back door or back wall, less than 10 seconds walking. Very small apartment. In order to open one bottles of wine in the bedroom, Jason had to go to the kitchen and get a kitchen knife to take off that plastic wrapper that goes around the top of wine bottles. So he was able to get off the top of the wine bottle with plastic wrapper, and he placed it on his nightstand. At a certain point, they finish off the bottle of wine, and Jasmine goes back into the kitchen to get another bottle. And there on the counter is Jason's cell phone. Ding, 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 ding. That familiar Tinder ding that Jasmine and Jason knew so well because that's how they met. Jasmine looked at his phone and saw all these messages with other girls, with other people. And this was infuriating to her. She was already in grief, and it sent her in anger into a rage, and they started yelling and fighting verbally. Jason came into the kitchen, and you're going to hear from witnesses that can hear both of them arguing. You're going to hear from witnesses that heard this dispute, not the words, but hear them yelling. Jasmine attacked Jason with an empty wine bottle. And in reaction, Jason kicked her, and she fell backwards, knocking over wine glasses. She picked up one of the wine glasses and ran towards Jason, and Jason retreated, going from the kitchen to his bedroom, which you have to go through the bathroom. She chased after him, and he was trying to close the door to the bathroom, but couldn't because the bath mat got in the way. Then tried to run from the bathroom into the bedroom, but there was a pocket door, and it's impossible to close. He gets back into his bedroom, and Jasmine's right there coming at him with this broken glass. Jason sees the knife, and he reacts. And he stabs. He blacked out. Your heart is racing. You're in that fight or flight response. Your adrenaline is rushing. You're in a panic. You're in fear. You don't know what's going to happen next. He comes to. He's laying over Jasmine's body, kneeling over it. She's bloody. Sickened by it, Jason crawls on his hands and knees to the bathroom and throws up. He lays there for minutes, and then he goes back into the room and sees what he's done. He's scared, in a panic, and he doesn't know what to do. And I wish I was telling you right now that he called 911, that he called the police, but he didn't. He should have. But even if he had called the police, I still think that we'd be having the same trial today, arguing the exact same issues. From there, Jason decides that he has to cover this up. He has to hide what he's done. He's scared for what his future entails, but more importantly, the shame that he's going to bring on his family, the shame that comes with everything that he's being accused of today. So he sets down this course of trying to hide it. He places Jasmine in trash bags, puts the handcuffs on her after she is dead, so that way she can fit into the trash bags, and so that he can put her into that suitcase. Where he then takes her body in that suitcase and drops her by the banks of the Tennessee River here in Chattanooga. He then sets on a course to try to clean up the apartment to his best of his ability. He does a poor job. He tries to hide the fact that what he did by texting her parents, texting Jasmine's parents, by pretending to be her on social media, whatever he can do to give himself an alibi in his eyes. It's selfish, and it's wrong. But he panicked, and he thought this was the best course of action. There's a couple other things that complicate this case. You're going to hear about Katrina Pace, Jasmine's mother. Any person whose child is missing who would go to such lengths and have such courage should be commended. She broke into Jason's apartment to search for her daughter. She also went in other times than that first time. She went in at least 3 or 4 other times, doing 2 things. One, contaminating the scene. She couldn't know what had happened there. I don't think that she purposely contaminated it. But what that's going to show in the evidence is the state's going to show you what's called luminol, blue star agent. That reacts with blood, and it creates a blue image. The cleaning materials and the blood that Jason cleaned up was tracked by Katrina Pace, all of her family that went in and out of this apartment. It was tracked by law enforcement officers going in and out, tracking all through the vacant apartment. Police, in this case, Chattanooga Police Department, and I'm embarrassed to say it, they were incompetent and impotent and unable to help Katrina Pace. In order to incentivize, in order to get the Chattanooga Police Department to look for their missing, look for Katrina's missing daughter, to get them to go and look for Jason and to arrest him, she had to stage the scene. She, or perhaps others, I don't know, went into Jason's apartment after meeting with the Chattanooga Police Department to make the scene look more incriminating than it actually was. You'll see a knife on the bed that wasn't there when Chattanooga Police Department went through the apartment initially before the search warrant was issued. You're going to see the differences between what the apartment looked like beforehand and what it looked like after. The second issue is the incompetency and the ineffectiveness of the Chattanooga Police Department. You're going to hear Zach Crawford. You're going to hear him testify at this trial that he told Katrina Pace and her family that he would tarnish this investigation if it meant bringing Jasmine back. Well, that begs the question, what did he do, or what could he have done to tarnish this investigation? What could he have done to manufacture premeditation so the state could show that to you today and over the course of this week? I promised you not to waste your time. The state's talking about fingerprints on trash bags, DNA found at the scene. I don't intend to ask any questions about any of that. The only issue in this case is whether there's premeditation. If there is no premeditation, this is not first-degree murder. This killing didn't happen after calm and cool reflection as the law requires. This is Jason. After being sufficiently provoked, after having his girlfriend run at him with a bottle, with a broken glass, and him reacting in a panic, but acting irrationally. Jason Chen is guilty, but he's not guilty of the crime that he's charged with. Jason Chen should be found guilty of the crime he did, not the crime he didn't. Thank you.
The rule has been requested, if anybody is going to testify in this case, it's not the lead investigator for the case or the Pace family, you go and step out. General Fire First Witness.
Your Honor, I'd ask for a DVD on your Honor's screen. The state's gonna call to the stand Katrina Bean.
So you can play it through your laptop.
Yes, Your Honor.
I have a few minutes. This is the first shot.
You may step out anytime, space.
Well, Your Honor.
State's First Witness. Pace, hang on a moment, please. Swan, you want to talk to Ms. Pace for just a moment?
Well, the court just give me 2 minutes, Judge.
Please step out. Yeah. the rest of yours can stay. Sir, you can stay. It's just one, unless anyone else needs a restroom break.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes. Tell you what, Jury's back in the courtroom. General Party, please.
The state would call Katrina Bean to the stand, Your Honor.
Solemnly swear to affirm that the testimony I'm about to give is true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Katrina, can you please state your name for the court's record?
Katrina IMB.
And, just gonna talk a little bit about yourself, and your family, before we get started. Do you need a break, let us know. Do you live in Chattanooga?
Yes.
Are you from Chattanooga?
Yes.
Are you married?
Yes.
What's your husband's name?
Gregory Scott Bean.
Do you have children?
I do.
How many? 4. And, is one of them Jasmine Pace?
Yes.
Who is Jasmine's biological father?
Travis Pace.
How old was Jasmine in November of 2022?
22 years old.
And can you describe for the jury, just generally, Jasmine's size?
She was tiny. Petite, that weighed 100 pounds.
Where was Jasmine living in November of 2022?
In our pool house.
And where would your house, would the pool house be located?
Our house is right above the pool house.
What's the address?
5977 Old Dayton Pike.
Is that Chattanooga? Was Jasmine working anywhere in, 2022?
Yes, she worked for us.
And what is, us mean? Can you explain
My
that?
husband and I have a construction company. She ran our office.
Ms. Bean, you're very soft-spoken. I want to make sure that the jurors hear the witness, okay? Everyone okay? You can't just raise your hand, okay? Thank you, Ms. Bean.
I want you to talk to the jury about what was going on in your family the week of Thanksgiving in 2022, specifically the 21st and the 22nd. Can you talk to the jury about that?
My grandmother that raised me, as my mom, fighting cancer, just got finished her treatments and, thought it had she'd been in remission and she got sick and quickly, within a 24-hour period, we had to take her to the emergency room that morning of the 22nd. And she died that evening in the emergency room. With all of her family present, including Jasmine and myself.
Was Jasmine close to her grandmother?
Yes,
You testified that Jasmine lived in your pool house. How often were you seeing Jasmine in this period of time?
saw Jasmine every day, on and off, all day, every day.
Because she lived there and she worked for you?
And we were very close.
At some point, after her grandmother passed away, were you not able to get in touch with Jasmine?
Correct. Very next day.
Were you calling her?
I was calling and she didn't answer. I sent messages
Was that abnormal?
to not hear from Jasmine, yes. And for her not to be there for her family, yes.
Did you know if she was seeing anyone in terms of a dating relationship?
Yes.
And who was that person?
Jason Chen.
And to your knowledge, what was their relationship at that point in time?
They're getting to know each other. She wasn't ready for us to meet him.
So you had never met him?
No,
She had never brought him to the house?
no.
Was she private?
She was.
So, when was the last time you saw Jasmine?
November 22nd, 2022.
Do you know, about what time, what day she left your house for the last time?
About 11 o'clock at night, I guess.
What caused you to finally take a step to go to Verizon to see if you could check her cell phone records?
Objection.
Lay the proper foundation.
You testified that you could not get a hold of your daughter?
No,
Did you try on the 24th?
yes,
Were other friends and family trying on the 24th?
I'm not sure. I followed up with a friend that I had received a message from. Her phone line saying that she was going to be with, and couldn't get a hold of her, so I got hold of her grandmother. Said that Jasmine had not been there for Thanksgiving. And a friend reached me and said that she hadn't heard from Jasmine, that was, she had not been up there, and I was immediately concerned, and I went to Verizon to see about her phone data, if I could locate her. I seen that there hadn't been any activity on her phone for several days, and so I bought a cheap phone in Verizon and had her phone line put on it so that I could get messages that sign into her car app.
Okay, let's pause there, because we just testified to a lot. So you testified just now that you learned that Jasmine was not with her friend who you thought she could have been with. Who was that friend?
Emma,
And how did you know that?
because her grandmother and her both said that she wasn't there with them,
Why did you think that Jasmine would have been with him?
because I received a message from Jasmine's phone on the 23rd, which at the time I didn't pay attention to the wording, because I was so upset about my grandmother, and but on the 26th, when I started getting really concerned, I went back and I read the text again, and the wording said, I'm going with my girlfriend, Emma, to spend Thanksgiving in South Carolina, which Jasmine wouldn't have texted me introducing Emma as her girlfriend, because I knew Emma. Emma had spent lots of time around me. So there would be no reason for Jazzy to introduce her that way. That was odd. And then also, I was almost certain that Emma's family is from Kentucky, not South Carolina.
Did you reach out to Emma's family?
I did, for their mother.
And what did you learn?
Jasmine had not been there with her.
Was that really what sparked your significant concern that something could be wrong?
Yes,
And, so then you testified that you went to Verizon, is that correct?
yes,
Okay, now, so let's slow down. You went to Verizon and did explain to them what you asked for them to do and then what Bryson was able to do with Jasmine's phone.
So I logged into our account because Jasmine's phone line is on our plan. And I looked at her activity on her phone line, see if calls made out, calls coming in, text message, if there was any data activity, anything. And there hadn't been for several days.
Okay. No calls? No activity on apps? What is the My Chevy app?
It's an app that tracks your vehicle's movements.
What kind of vehicle did Jasmine drive?
A Chevy, SUV.
Okay. And is, My Chevy something that comes with the vehicle?
It is,
With every Chevrolet?
I'm not sure.
You knew at that time that it came with Jasmine's stuff?
Yeah.
Were you involved in purchasing Jasmine's vehicle?
Yes,
Okay. And so, what did you do to log into the My Chevy app?
I had her phone line put on a different phone that I had to confirm the text, you get a confirmation so you can log in.
Okay. And what was the point of looking at the My Chevy? It might seem obvious, but what was the point?
So I could locate her car. I couldn't locate her, hadn't talked to her, found out that she wasn't where I had received a message saying she was gonna be or who she was gonna be with. So the next thing would be to find her car, and maybe I find her.
And did the My Chevy app show that she left your house on November 22nd, 2022?
It did.
And did it show you a destination for her vehicle on November 22nd, 2022?
It did.
I'm going to show you two separate pictures and just ask you to look at them for a second. Do you recognize those two pictures?
Yes,
What is that?
this is from the My Chevy app, a map and then a timeline of her car's movements on November 22nd at 11:27 p.m.
Do these photos accurately represent what you saw when you pulled up her My Chevy app on November 26, 2022?
Yes,
Your Honor, I'd ask that this be State's Exhibit number 1. It's 2 pages.
There you go. Exhibit 1.
Permission published. All right, so I know that this is strange where you're sitting, but this is gonna be behind you, so you can sort of turn and also talk to the jury at the same time. So Chevrolet Smart Driver, that's sort of how we know it's a Chevrolet, is that right?
yes,
Okay, and then, November 22nd, 2022, this reflects the time that her vehicle showed?
yes,
Okay. And you see this black dot up there?
yes.
What does that represent to you?
That's the area that my house is at.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. The second page of State's Exhibit 1. Does it show you the address from which the vehicle left and arrived?
Yes,
And, can you read that address out loud?
5977 Old Dayton Pike.
Right.
That's my address.
And then destination?
To 108 Tremont Street.
Did you know at that time what was at 108 Tremont Street?
No,
Did it mean anything to you?
no.
Do you recognize those two documents?
Yes,
What is that?
also another map and timeline of her car's movements from the app.
Okay, and, is that an accurate reflection of what you saw on the My Chevy app attached to Jasmine's car in November of 2022?
It is.
Your Honor, I asked this was State's Exhibit number 2, it's a 2-page document.
Exhibit 2.
All right, so now we pull this up on the screen. This black dot down here, what does that mean to you?
That's where her car started.
Well, around, and you can look at State's Exhibit number 1 if you like. What approximate location, do you recall? What approximate location was that?
Tremont Street.
Okay. And then, can you see here where that, do you see what that little black dot says? Can you read that? Would you agree that it says start? Here it is. Would you agree that it says start?
Yes. Yes, it says that.
Okay. And so this is November 23rd. This is the next day, right?
Yes.
And so what does that black dot say?
That's where the vehicle stopped.
Okay, next page here, this will help you a little bit. So the My Chevy app showed that on November 23rd, 2022, a vehicle started at 108 Tremont Street
Yes.
and then ended just a few minutes later, arrived rather at 900 Mountain Creek Road. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, Ms. Bean, based on this, what did you and your family proceed to do?
We went to 900 Mountain Creek Road
Why?
because that's where her car was last.
And at this point in time, who was with you?
My husband and I believe my Jasmine's sister Gabby had met us there. I don't remember when she arrived. My oldest son.
Okay,
um,
is that it?
I think so.
What was located at 900 Mountain Creek Road?
My daughter's car.
What area was that though?
It's apartment buildings. It was in the back corner of the apartment buildings.
When you say it, you mean her vehicle was?
Yes.
So, explain to the jury what you did when you arrived at 900 Mountain Creek Road. What did you and your family proceed to do?
We told the police.
After you found her vehicle,
Yeah.
did you fairly quickly find her vehicle?
Yes, it took us right to it.
The My Chevy app took you right to it?
The address on my Chevy app.
Took you right to her vehicle? Was anybody in her vehicle?
No.
Were the doors locked?
Yes.
And then you say that you called the police.
Yes.
Did the police officer come to 900 Mountain Creek Road?
Yes.
There are 4 photos here, Ms. Bean. I would just take a look at those. You recognize those photos?
Yes.
What's depicted in those photos?
My daughter's car is in 2 of the photos, and my husband and I are in a photo. And on another photo, you can see Jasmine's sister, myself, talking on the phone to Jason Chen, and my husband also in the corner talking to the officer.
Do you know if these photos are from a body camera from November 23rd, 2022?
I'm assuming.
Okay. Was that, are they taken from the point of view of the officer to your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. And does it accurately reflect what that apartment building and that parking lot looked like on November 23rd, 2022?
Yes.
I asked if these 4 photos.
Are
unless that will mess up your presentation.
No.
Exhibits 3, 4, 5, and 6. One mark.
Sure. Does it matter what order? Yeah.
You know, you can refer to the exhibit number when you're talking.
Yes.
Jurors, you will be able to take these exhibits back to the courtroom with you, so when you hear a witness or you're talking about exhibit 3, exhibit 5, make a note of it, it'll make it easier for you to refer to the juror. Thank you, gentlemen.
Behind you, Ms. Bean, you will see state's exhibit number 6. Is that yourself in the white t-shirt?
Yes,
Who is that next to you?
my husband.
And I'm gonna have you with this pointer here, you can see that red is a button. If you can point out Jasmine's vehicle. Right there. Okay, and that is the white Chevrolet. Okay. Then,
Also, right there, Jasmine's vehicle.
okay, state exhibit number 5, which the witness is looking at, and that, again, the closest vehicle to us, correct, is Jasmine's vehicle.
Correct.
This would be state's exhibit number 3. Describe who we see in that photo.
That is Jasmine's sister, Gabby Pace. That's myself. That's my husband.
Okay. One more photo, and then I'm gonna go back to this one. I'm sorry. I think we have 2 of the same exhibit, Judge.
Call exhibit 4 duplicate.
Yes, Judge.
Exhibit 4 is
Exhibit
duplicate.
4 is duplicate, Judge. Okay. Katrina, did you,
Are we eliminating that exhibit or?
It's exhibit 4, so I can more refer to it as exhibit.
Okay, I just want to make sure you heard this.
do you know anybody that lives at 900 Mount Creek Road?
No,
Did you ever know Jasmine to visit 900 Mount Creek Road?
no.
Did you knock on any doors that night?
We knocked on so many doors. The apartment complex is large, but I can't tell you how many doors we knocked on.
Did you learn anything significant?
No.
So you testified that in one of these photos, which is the photo that's on the screen behind you, states exhibit number 3, that you were on the phone with Jason Chen.
Correct.
Why did you call Jason Chen at this location?
I actually didn't even realize it was him at first. I had her call log that I had just gotten from Bryson and going over and seeing who she talked to recently. And so I was just calling the numbers on her call log.
When was the last time that she had talked to this number that you called?
The night before the 22nd.
And do you recall, based on her phone records, for how long that conversation lasted?
Yes, it was 71 minutes.
So, to be clear, when you called Jason here in this photo that we're looking at, you didn't know it was Jason Chen?
Not until he said his name.
Had you spoken to him before this moment? And, you said before he said his name was Jason Chen, did he verify that it was Jason?
Yes.
Did you ask him when the last time was that he saw Jasmine?
I did. I started off with letting him know that she's missing. If he wanted to know if he had any idea where she would be at, because they were dating, and asked when he last spoke to her, how did she seem? I don't remember what all I asked him, but those were the,
Did he seem concerned?
no, he didn't.
And he said that he hadn't spoken to her, when was the last time he said he spoke to her?
I don't remember what he said. I remember that it was a lie. I had him on speakerphone. recall what he said.
Did he admit to talking to her on the 22nd, when you asked him when the last time was that he
I
spoke to
think
her?
from what I can remember, he changed his story and said, oh, I did talk to her. And I asked for how long, and he had said just a few minutes, I believe. And, you know, I muted the conversation and asked the officer, you know, should I confront him? He has just lied about multiple things. I have the proof right here. And that's what sticks out to me.
Did you confront him?
I did.
And what did he say?
That he had to get off the phone. He was at the airport.
Did you ask him where he lived?
I did ask him where he lived.
And what did he say?
500 Tremont Street.
Did he ask you any questions
No,
about Jasmine?
no,
Did he ask you any questions about what you guys had done to find her?
no,
Did he offer his assistance?
no.
So, do you recall the name of the officer that came to Mountain Creek Road?
Pierre, I believe.
Okay, and describe to the jury how helpful, in your opinion, Officer Pierre was able to be.
He took a report, gave me a card, said that he would pass the information along to a detective that would be assigned. You know, I would probably hear from them in 24 to 48 hours. And that's really all he could do.
He, do you recall if he was gonna go to 500 Tremont Street to see if Jason was there?
I asked him to follow me, and he said he could not do that.
Do you recall if at any point in time while he was there, he tried to contact another, potentially an investigator with the Chattanooga Police Department?
I don't remember. I was on the phone with Jason Chen.
Did anybody else from the Chattanooga Police Department come to Mountain Creek Road?
I do not believe so.
At Mountain Creek Road or soon thereafter, did you receive a call from anybody from the Chattanooga Police Department?
No,
No investigator called you to follow up?
no.
So did Officer Pierre leave Mountain Creek Road?
Yes,
When he left, were you still there?
yes.
And what did you proceed to do?
We called a tow for our daughter's vehicle to get towed to our house. We continued knocking on doors, showing pictures of my daughter as if anyone had seen her. We talked to the security officer at the apartments to see if he could help us with footage since we knew the timing when her vehicle entered there, so we could see if Jasmine was driving the vehicle. So we know where to start looking. We started calling friends and family, asking for help to look for her.
Let me pause right there. Did you speak with the security officer at Mountain Creek Road?
I did,
Do you recall his name?
I do not.
That's okay. Did Officer Pierre assist you in contacting that security officer? Do you recall?
I'm not sure.
Okay. But you did speak to the security officer on this night?
I did, and then he actually called me back and we went back there to look at security footage after he was able to get it.
And did you view that security footage?
I did,
Did it show your daughter's vehicle arriving at Mountain Creek Road?
it did.
Did you see who was inside?
No, you couldn't tell.
Okay. All right. So back to what you all did after that. You stayed at Mountain Creek Road, you you talked to the security officer. At what point did you leave Mountain Creek Road?
Shortly after that, we went to 500 Tremont Street.
Why?
Jason Chen said that's where he lived.
What was it, 500 Tremont Street?
It was a abandoned house that was under construction. We spoke to some neighbors, asking, showing Jasmine's picture and asking if they had seen her. No.
Did you go other locations as well after you left Mountain Creek Road?
I did. By this time, there is multiple people sending in messages to Jasmine's best friend Bailey and about where he possibly lived, people that had worked with him.
You say him, you mean Jason Chen?
I do.
Okay.
I remember went to Mr. Burrito downtown because I guess above there is apartments that somebody called in and said that he lived there. He did prior to live there, but it wasn't there no more, so we just kept going and looking at any place that.
And who all was with you? Did anybody else join the search party? is what I'll
Yes,
call it?
Travis Pace and his girlfriend Jackie, I'm not sure her last name,
Travis and Jasmine Pace.
correct.
Anybody else?
And his girlfriend at the time, Jackie. And then later on in that evening, a friend of ours, Wayne Tubbs, had joined us too.
Is there anywhere else throughout the night that you went looking for Jasmine before you arrived at 110 Tremont?
I don't remember everywhere that we went. It was, I had slept a couple of days and we were just searching everywhere. Once the security officer from the apartments had got back with us, we were, at one house we just spoke to Shen's parents, which they just said, don't call back again. And we went back to the apartments to view the security footage. And while doing so, I looked back at mine and her messages.
You and whose messages?
Mine and Jasmine's messages,
Okay.
and seeing that she had sent me a pin drop of her location. And that's why we went to the 110 Tremont.
What caused you to look back at your and Jasmine? So when you say conversations, you mean your text thread?
Yes, our text thread.
What caused you to go back and look at that?
I don't remember. We were trying to get the footage working at the apartments with the help of the security officer. And I went on our thread and I seen it, and I didn't notice it before because I had sent her a pin drop on the 22nd because we normally had been taking my grandmother to the hospital downtown, and we didn't that day. And so I had sent her a pin drop showing her what hospital we were at. So, and I didn't notice that she had sent me a pin drop because I thought it was my pin drop I had sent to her.
actually know whether it was her or not, but it came from her phone. Is that correct? So you can't testify whether or not she actually sent the pin drop.
No,
But did you have her number saved in your phone?
I do.
And did it come from what
Her
was
phone line.
her phone line? Okay. And do you recall approximately the day and time that that location was shared from that phone with you?
It's November 23rd at 2:18 in the morning.
2:18 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is it?
It's the pin drop coordinates from that message.
Does that accurately reflect what your phone showed when you clicked on that location that was shared with you?
Yes.
And was this photo taken by the Chattanooga Police Department?
I'm not sure.
Is that a picture of your phone?
It is.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm asking this be state exhibit number seven.
You objection?
It could be one, I would say this would be one, but I did go together, so seven.
Good, so.
All right, so just, while you look at the screen again. Is this what was shared with you from your daughter's phone?
Yes.
And is that another photo, when you click on that location, is this another photo that comes up?
Yes.
What is where this red is, what is this building?
Apartment complex, Jason Chen lives.
So, when you saw this location that had been shared with you, what did you do?
We leave if we go to that location.
Same people with you at this time?
At the moment, it was just Gabby, Travis, Jackie, and myself. Wayne Tubton met up with us later on in the evening, after we arrived there.
What was your reaction when you saw this location drop?
I was scared, because that was not normal. Jasmine had never sent me a pin drop location in the middle of the night.
At the time that you saw the location drop, did you know of anybody that's lived or
No,
frequented this building?
no.
So you traveled to this location, do you recall what the address was?
I believe it's 110 Tremont Street.
Okay. And it's an apartment building, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And then have you turned around? Katrina, I've just pulled up Google Maps, okay? Anyone can access this. Do you recognize this location?
Yes.
And what is this?
That is the apartment building that I found my daughter's stuff in.
Okay, and do you recall when you got there, if you entered into a particular door that you can see in this photo?
I went into the door right there.
Okay. Let's see, the door, you're pointing to the only door you can see in this photo, is that correct?
Correct.
Double door,
Mhm.
and then is this a parking lot?
It is.
Is there a parking lot on the other side of the building?
I'm not sure.
Where did you all park when you got there?
I actually parked right back. I got my car.
On the street?
I did it right by the parking lot.
Okay.
Or-
Everybody's together, and so how did you get into the apartment building?
Actually, a gentleman that lived there let us in.
Did you tell them why you were there?
Yes,
And then what did you proceed to do in the building?
we knocked on every door. We were also trying to follow the coordinates with our phone to guide us to the coordinates that was sent to me.
What were you asking people when you knocked on the door?
If they had seen my daughter, showed them pictures.
And, did something cause you to arrive at, apartment 210?
Yes,
What was that?
spoke to a neighbor that told me that
Objection, your side.
It's not going to matter now.
From prior hearing, I believe this is going to explain why she did what she did, so for the non-hearsay purpose, shall be admitted. Objection number. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to hear, the witness describe, statements made by someone else other than her. They're not to be taken for the truth of matters, sir. They're only to be taken for the admissibility purpose of explaining why Ms. Bean did what she did.
So what led you to apartment 210?
neighbor said that he heard a woman scream within several minutes of the pin drop that I had received from my daughter.
Was
And
he,
from that direction, and Jason's apartment door was the only one that someone didn't answer.
so the person told you that the scream had come from a certain apartment. Was that apartment 210?
It was,
And did you and your family knock on that door?
we did, no one answered it.
Okay. Explain to the jury what you and your family members then proceeded to do.
I got a credit card from my wallet out of my car, and we broke into the apartment. I knew something was too close to when my daughter sent me a pin of her coordinates. The coordinates were almost exact.
Was anybody there?
No,
What did you start doing when you got into the apartment?
we opened up the door and seen cleaning supplies and a notebook. I opened the notebook, seeing that it was Jason Chen's apartment. Opened up,
How did the notebook let you know that it was Jason's apartment?
it had his name on it.
Okay.
Opened up desk drawers, found my daughter's ID and credit cards that I had seen on the counter. A little travel bag of hers.
So you located some of Jasmine's belongings.
I did.
And you mentioned a desk. Where, when you walk in the door to Jason's apartment, can you describe to the jury where the desk was at?
You walk in, it would be to your right.
Okay. And, who was it that opened that drawer of his desk?
I don't remember if it was myself or Travis. They were all right together. I took pictures of us entering and took pictures of the credit cards and ID in the desk.
Do you recognize this photo?
Yes.
What are they?
Jason Chen's apartment door, and right when you first walk into his apartment.
Does that photo depict the desk that you were just testifying to?
Yes,
Is that what you recall looking like on November 23rd, 2022?
yes,
Your Honor, that's the mistakes next to exhibit.
To
8 and 9. I'm showing the jury what's been marked now as State's Exhibit 9. So Ms. Pace, you testified to, what is this behind you?
Jason Chen's door.
Okay. And then State's Exhibit number 8. Explain to the jury where we're at in Jason's apartment, in relation to the door.
The door's to the left of this shoe rack.
It is at the desk here, to the right that you were talking about.
Yes,
And do you recall what side of the desk the drawer was on?
it's just in the front.
And can you describe where in the drawer her driver's license and credit cards were?
Just open the drawer right there in the corner.
Were they stacked on top of one another? Were they spread out?
I don't remember, I think they were stacked together, not, firstly, I took a picture of it.
Do you recall whether you saw the driver's license first or the credit cards first?
I do not recall, I just remember seeing my daughter's license and credit cards.
Do you recall seeing the license and the credit cards before or after you saw her other belongings, the bag?
I saw the bag when I first walked in.
And can you tell her again, I think you said the counter, where was her bag?
It was just a little bag, it's right there, the back left, that counter right there, on the edge of the picture. It was right there on that.
What kind of bag was it?
It's just a little travel bag.
And did you contact law enforcement at 110 Tremont Street?
We did.
Okay. And, did patrol come to the location?
They did.
Were they able to help you?
No,
Did a investigator come out?
no,
Did you talk to Zach Crawford with the homicide division?
no,
Did you talk to any detective in the missing persons division?
no.
Did patrol leave that apartment that night without doing anything?
Yes. I mean, they took another report
Told you,
and they talked to the neighbor.
but told you what?
And they passed on the information to the detective that it was assigned to.
Okay. When patrol left the apartment building that night, did you and your family members also leave?
We went down to our vehicles and we waited until police left.
And then what'd you do?
I went back in
For
to
what?
his apartment
For what?
to get whatever, anything that I thought I could use to help find my daughter.
Were you frustrated?
I was scared.
Did you take items?
I did.
What'd you take?
I took electronics, phones and tablets and
How many phones? Do you recall how many phones you found in Mr. Chen's
there
apartment?
was multiple.
Okay. And what else?
Notebooks, I don't remember what all, there was,
How many times do you think you went back into Jason's apartment?
like 2 or 3 times after that. And I took whatever I thought I would have to hire a private investigator for. I don't know, I was panicking. I didn't know what I needed to be able to find her, so I took whatever that I thought possibly I could go through and help find clues about where my daughter would be.
How many times, I'll ask it this way, what period of time was it that you were entering and exiting the apartment?
That morning after the police had left,
Would that have been the morning of November 27th?
would have been,
Okay. day?
My timeline kind of, I hadn't slept still.
Do you know what day it was the last time you went into Jason's apartment?
I did not go into Jason Chen's apartment again after, we met with Officer Crawford and was getting some help.
Okay. You're gonna be asked questions, as we now know, about staging crime scene. Katrina, did you have any idea what had happened to your daughter?
No,
Did you have any desire to pin it on to Jason Chen at that point?
I was still looking for my daughter.
Did you ever bring anything into the apartment and leave it there?
No,
Did you take massive quantities of Jasmine's blood and pour it in the floor?
I didn't see any of Jasmine's blood.
You didn't take anything into the apartment, did you?
No,
Did you move things around so that police would see items in certain places?
no,
Were you concerned at that point about the police investigation?
I wasn't thinking about a police investigation. I was just trying to find her. I was insanely scared. That sounds bad. What's going on?
At some point, finally, did investigators with the Chattanooga Police Department get involved?
Yes,
What was the first contact you had with them?
well, Officer Tumlin, I had sent the pictures and the information I had myself and her friends had collected. And he had informed me not to call him on weekends. He would get back to me in normal business hours.
You know, Officer Tumlin, do you know what division of CPD he worked with?
I don't.
Okay, did you talk to him? And I'm sorry, continue.
And then after that, Officer Crawford and Emery got involved.
At some point, did investigators with the Chattanooga Police Department come to your home to take photos of some of the items you had taken from Jason's apartment?
Yes,
And to be clear, did you take Jasmine's driver's license and her credit cards from Jason's apartment
yes,
to your house?
yes.
Do you recognize these photos, Katrina?
Yes,
Were those photos taken at your home?
Yeah.
Are those photos taken of items that you took from Jason Chen's apartment? Yes, you see these four photos with your sworn judge, these things, next four exhibits.
For 13.
State's Exhibit 13. underneath that driver's license, are those her credit cards that you took from Jason Chen's apartment?
Yes.
Is this a photo of other items that were taken from Mr. Chen's apartment,
Yes.
including that cell phone on top? It looks like some clothing items.
Yes.
What number is that there?
I'm sorry. That was State's Exhibit 12. Now we are showing this being State's Exhibit 11. More items, again, 4 phones, and then what is this item right here?
I don't even remember, but it looks like a camera.
Okay.
Or a camera.
And was there some type of iPad in this?
Correct.
And these are to the right, some of the notebooks that you took.
Yes.
And lastly, State's Exhibit number 10, this is sort of a further back photo, is that correct? And it shows, again, Jasmine's driver's license and credit card, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you also allow investigators to view and potentially collect items from the pool house that Jasmine was staying in?
Yes.
Describe the pool house for the jury.
Right below our house. In front of a pool,
Their place to sleep.
there is.
Was Jasmine staying there temporarily, or was that her place of residence long term?
She was staying there temporarily
Why?
because we've had, been working on the house at the bottom of our driveway. It was almost finished. It was for her.
So she was living in a pool house while her house was being built. Showing the witness 4 photos. Do you recognize those photos?
I do.
What are they?
They're, the outside of my pool house and the inside of it.
Were those photos taken, the week of November 23rd, 2022?
Yes.
Is that what the pool house looked like at that time?
Yes.
Does it show some of Jasmine's belongings?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask that these 4 photos be fixed next to it.
14 through 17.
What's been marked as State's Exhibit 14, Ms. Dean, is that your pool house?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 15 is that the bathroom in the pool house?
Yes.
That would have been the bathroom that Jasmine was using?
Yes.
Another photo of the bathroom,
Yes.
to the left is the shower, is that correct?
Correct.
Sorry, this is State's Exhibit 16, and then lastly, State's Exhibit 17, this is a photo of the shower.
Yes.
Would you agree that the item there located at the base of the shower is a toothbrush?
It is.
That toothbrush?
It is.
Let's be clear about something for the jury, Ms. Bean. Police department came to your home on this night, correct? Did you ever go back to Jason's apartment after the police department came to your home on this night?
No.
Why?
Because I felt like they were gonna help me.
you aware that a search warrant was executed at Jason's apartment on November 28th, 2022?
Yes.
What was the next contact that you had with the Chattanooga Police Department?
I don't remember.
Were you informed that your daughter's blood had been found inside Jason Chen's apartment?
Yes.
I don't have one, Judge. Katrina, you've been to all the court dates in this case, haven't you?
Almost all of them, except for a couple I had to listen to on live.
You've never heard the defendant admit that he murdered your daughter, ever?
No.
First time you heard that story was today.
Yes.
Is that what affected you when you were first?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Never heard of it.
How comfortable is Officer Pierre at the apartments?
Took her report and gave me a card.
Trying to check the police department helpful, might be right down the street or at the single view apartments.
No.
You then went from there to Waffle House.
No.
They sometimes you go to Waffle House.
Yes.
And that's where you discover the pin drop from Jasmine's phone.
To my recollection, no, it was after Waffle House. Waffle House, we called his parents.
But you saw that message and that's what led you to Jason Chen's apartment complex.
No, I wasn't at Waffle House. I believe I was at the apartment complex when I seen the pin drop, and that is what led us to the apartments.
You were interviewed by police about what happened at Jason's apartment.
Yes.
What did you tell the police about how you got inside?
That we knocked hard and that it opened up.
That was mine.
It was.
And then do you remember testifying previously in this case?
I do.
And just like today, then you took an oath, didn't you?
I did.
You swore to tell the truth,
Yes.
the whole truth,
Yes.
and nothing but the truth.
Yep.
What did you tell this court on how you got, or how you entered into the apartment?
That we opened up the credit card.
Did you say during that hearing who opened the door of the credit card?
I don't remember.
And you saw a copy of your treasury of your testimony of that day, would that refresh your memory?
Sure.
Please go ahead and read over your previous his testimony and let me know when you have an opportunity or when you're done.
Okay. Did you mean to give me two separate pages that are
Keeping them
page
together.
28 and 45?
No, ma'am, I just have you. But, I can close that. Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes, that we entered in.
Who did you tell the court opened the door at the hearing in which you testified?
Travis,
And did you say whether or not you had seen him open the door?
I was behind him. I didn't see him do it, but
Did you not just testify on direct that you opened the door with a credit card?
no, I did not. So though we went down and I got a credit card from my wallet.
And who opened the door?
Travis opened the door.
And did you see him do it?
I was behind him. I can't say that I seen him or watched him do it, but he was opening it and then we got in, so.
Here's page 45. You can read that and let me know if that refreshes your recollection.
Refresh my recollection on,
How you made entry using Jason Chen's apartment.
I already said that we used a credit card and entered his apartment.
And what did you say on that thing?
It says right here. You asked, would you remember whether or not someone had to use a credit card to jimmy the door open for you to get in? I said, I don't remember, actually. And I believe that was because you were asking about the next time we got in, not the original time.
Why would you have to use a credit card to get in a second or third time after you bought it?
Because I'm assuming it was locked.
And so after the first time of entering the apartment, you didn't unlock the door.
Pardon me?
After the first time of entering the apartment, you didn't unlock the door.
Did I unlock the door?
You did not unlock the door.
I don't know. I don't remember the details of if a door was locked or if a drawer was opened or a cabinet or who did it. I don't remember those details. Those were not relevant details to me in the moment because who opened a cabinet or a door or
Why is your testimony different today than it was?
it isn't. And I'm recalling it to the best of my ability for something that happened 2.5 years ago, that I hadn't slept and that I was scared to death.
So when I asked you back in February last year, so you went in there, how did you get into the apartment? You said, I don't remember.
Oh, well, that was for the second time. And I don't remember.
And you're saying that you went back into the apartment 2 or 3 times?
Yes,
After you had gone through Jason's apartment, well, let me ask this, how many people went into Jason's apartment?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I can't count that I was there.
Who else?
Gabby and Travis, I don't know who else, if anyone else went in.
And after you found Jason's belongings in there, you called the police.
Yes,
How many police officers responded?
2 or 3.
Did any of those officers go inside?
Yes,
Were you aware that they were wearing body cams?
I wasn't. I can't say that exactly, I would.
If we could have the best laptop. Yeah, maybe I'm not getting it.
Everybody wants to stand up and stretch. Do so. Yeah, we're two.
Your Honor, that's ready to proceed.
Already proceeding.
Can we approach Judge?
we've been wrestling with it all morning to take time.
May I personally
You're
use
free to record.
this case? Where I'm trying to speak, do you recognize this scene? What's happening here?
Interacting with law enforcement.
And what are you talking about?
I don't know, I don't. I have no idea what we are talking about.
You remember? Remember officers, Chattanooga police officers entering into Jason Chen's apartment while you're standing there in the hallway?
I honestly, I've spent over 2 years trying to cope and deal and not think about every moment of that night. In all fairness, I don't remember.
So you wouldn't remember what the apartment looked like if I were to show you a video of it?
I would remember some of it, I'm sure, but to be able to recall every detail of the apartment, no, I couldn't.
You said that you didn't do anything around the apartment, did you?
No,
Do you know anyone else that did?
I don't know.
Did anyone, when the state tried to search warrant, do you know that they went into the apartment without you?
I don't know.
Has anyone told you they moved around things in Jason Chen's apartment to make it look more incriminating?
No,
Officer Pace and Officer Craig went into Jason Chen's apartment after you went in for that.
Okay.
Is that right?
I don't remember the officer's names that were in there, but
What officers went in there?
correct.
Why would the apartment look different after the police went in there than when they were in? Who changed it?
I have no idea.
Katrina, to what extent would you have gone to find your daughter? Did you believe that she could have been in Jason Chen's apartment that day?
Yes,
Did you believe at the time that there could be things in the apartment that could lead you to your daughter?
yes,
Are you aware? Do you know whether or not Mr. Chen went to his apartment after you entered his apartment?
I don't know.
Recross.
You said you would do anything to find your daughter?
Wouldn't you?
Of course.
Okay.
But you would break into an apartment,
To find my daughter? Yes,
you would hide a place,
I was just trying to find my daughter.
you would perjure yourself under oath.
I haven't perjured myself.
Go ahead, Jason.
You're good.
Nothing further, Judge.
Does the jury have any questions for Mrs. Bean? Ms. Bean, Mr. Bill. No cardinal witness.
Your Honor, the state will call Officer Mackenzie Pierre. name of the court reporter?
Officer Mackenzie Cole Pierre.
And Officer Pierre, where are you currently employed?
I'm employed with the Chattanooga Police Department,
And what division of the police department do you currently work in?
neighborhood policing, so just basic patrol.
Okay, and in November of 2022, were you working in the same position?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Is there a certain area of town in your role that you primarily work?
Yes, ma'am, the area is referred to as Adam North, that's more of like North Chattanooga. My specific area is Adam 5, that includes the Mountain Creek Road area, Moxon Bend, Signal Mountain Road area, and part of North Shore as well.
Were you working the night shift in November of 2022?
I was working the second shift, so the in-between, yes, ma'am.
What is second shift?
So the second shift runs from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m.
And you stated that you're on patrol. Can you define for the jury what the duties of a patrol officer are at the Chattanooga Police Department?
So our basic duties are one, to answer calls to service, which vary greatly depending on whether it be civil matters, domestic disorders, more serious, heinous, aggravated assault crimes, vehicle thefts, like I said, a very great variety. As well as also do our best to deter any crime from occurring by being proactive, making traffic stops, and just watching out for suspicious activity to begin with.
On major cases, felony cases, are you called to investigate them?
Yes, ma'am. At least to take the initial report and do as much as we can at that time.
And if there needs to be, if it's a more serious case, what would then happen in your position on patrol? If it was something that was above your head, what would you then do?
That's when we go ahead and contact one of our investigation units to notify them, kind of give them the rundown of the details, what the report number is, and how much information that we have gathered so far, so that they can follow up with whoever they need to follow up with to continue the investigation.
So if, for example, it's a robbery, who would you call?
The robbery investigator, whoever is on call that evening.
If it's a homicide, who would you call?
Our major crimes division.
If it's a missing person, who would you call?
Our missing persons division. Yes, ma'am.
You are not equipped with the resources to investigate on those types of cases.
Not as equipped as the specific, specialized units. No, ma'am.
Okay. 1 second, Judge. I apologize. On November, I'm gonna draw your attention to November 2022. Do you recall being working on shift on November 26th, 2022?
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
Do you recall, on that day being called to, 900 Mountain Creek Road?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you remember about that call?
I remember it came out as a missing persons call, and that, they were concerned about their adult daughter having not been in contact with her for quite some time, which was very much so unlike her. And so I responded on scene to meet with a complainant, Ms. Katrina.
And were you the only patrol officer that arrived on, at Mountain Creek Road that night?
Yes, ma'am.
You were by yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said you recall, meeting Katrina, are you talking about the victim's mother in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you recall who else was there?
I believe her husband was there, and then a friend or family member. I don't recall the exact relation, but there was someone else there with them.
Had you known anything about this missing person, except for what you learned when you arrived there at 900 Mountain Creek Road? Did you know anything else about it?
No, ma'am, no.
Okay. Do you recall the individuals there, naming a person of interest?
I do recall them mentioning after, discussing more of the details, that she had been seeing someone fairly recently by the name of Jason Chen. And they questioned, if we should reach out to him and possibly try contacting him to see if he knows any more information about where Jasmine could possibly be.
Do you recall if Katrina on that night did call Jason?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Was that phone call on speakerphone?
Yes.
Could you hear Mr. Chen or Jason?
Yes, I could hear parts of the conversation. There were numerous people there I was also speaking to as well, so I did not catch the entire conversation, but I did hear where, Miss Katrina asked him, where he lived and when the last time he spoke to Jasmine was.
When he was asked where he lived, do you recall what he said?
I don't recall the exact address. I do recall finding out after the fact that it was the incorrect address.
Do you recall when he said the last time was that he saw Jasmine?
I do not recall the specific date, but I do recall when Miss Katrina asked him that question, she muted the phone and advised me that she had pulled phone records and that he was not telling the truth because she had seen that they contacted each other the day after that he was claiming he had last spoken to her.
Do you recall when he said he last spoke to her?
Not the specific date, no.
Okay. Did you ever try to visit the location that he said he lived at?
I fully intended to, but that night with it being the call load after I had done what I was supposed to do on my end as far as having her interview as missing and contacting the investigators, I got caught up with, various other calls to servers coming out, so I did not have a chance to run by that address. No, ma'am.
Was Tremont Street within your area? Was that within Adam 5?
It's the district right next to mine, so Adam 4.
Okay, borders your district.
Yes.
Okay. While you were out there, did you consider calling a missing persons investigator?
Yes, ma'am, and I did so.
Yeah, and which missing persons investigator was that?
I requested dispatch put the on-call missing persons investigator phone number on the CAD dispatch card for me, and it was Investigator Blunt that I made contact with that evening.
What does on-call mean?
On-call means, if it's late at night or something like that for that weekend or that time period during the week, if it's after business hours, you're the person that gets contacted.
And that was Investigator Blunt?
Investigator Blunt was who I was referred to and who I spoke to that evening.
And
Yes,
she works in the missing persons division?
yes, ma'am.
And how'd you feel about calling Investigator Blunt that night?
I was not too excited, if I'm being frank.
Why?
Me and her do not get along too well.
Okay. And did you relay the information that you had been given by Jasmine Pace's family?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I gave her the complaint number, all the information that I knew. I even mentioned the possible boyfriend or, person that Mr. Chen, that she had been speaking to, and conveyed that her parents were quite concerned over the matter and that they would like to be contacted at some point.
What'd she say?
She said, okay, go ahead and forward me the information and, I'll reach out to them.
Did anyone else from the police department, I apologize. Did anyone else from the police department come out to Mountain Creek Road that night?
No, ma'am.
Were you able to give to Jasmine's family Investigator Blunt's phone number?
I don't believe I gave them her phone number specifically. Typically, we wait for the investigators to reach out to the family members and victims.
So to your knowledge that night, while you were there, Investigator Blunt did not speak with the Pace family?
To my knowledge, no.
Did she ask you, hey, will you hand the phone to them so I can talk to them?
No.
You didn't do that?
No.
So in your capacity as a patrol officer, what were you able to do for Jasmine's family that night?
So for that evening, I explained to them, which I also did, that I had Jasmine entered into the NCIC, national database as a missing person, so that if anyone was ever to locate her and run her information, it would pop up bright red on the screen, missing person. And then I would contact a missing persons investigator give them all the information that they just conveyed to me, give them my complaint number. But as of right now, in my position where I was at, like that is the most that I can do.
Sure. Do you recall communicating with them that you weren't able to name Jason Chen as a suspect at that time?
I don't recall specifically stating that.
Were you able to name Jason Chen as a suspect at that time?
No, absolutely not.
Do you recall contacting, the security officer for the apartment building?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am.
Do you recall speaking with him?
Yes.
Did you ever meet him?
Oh, I've known him my entire career here.
What's his name?
Scott Miller.
Okay, so did he come out that night
Yes, ma'am, he did.
and you spoke with him?
Yes, and he spoke with family members as well.
Did you recall if he was able to, search for any video from the apartment complex?
I know he explained to me that it would be hard to try to get it pulled up that evening, but that would be something that you'd be working on, that hopefully the following day he would be able to have access to.
Did he confirm that there were video cameras on the property?
He advised that there were cameras, he was just unsure about the angles and if they were going to be able to capture anything.
Sure, okay. That night or any time thereafter, were you able to do anything else for Jasmine Pace's family?
No, ma'am, it's not. The only further thing I had was, I believe, a day or two after taking the initial report, I was contacted by another missing persons investigator Tumlin, who also asked me for all the details and the complaint number of the incident.
What day was that?
I don't recall if it was a day or two after, but it was sometime shortly after the initial report was taken.
And you relayed all of the information you had to him as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further, Judge. No questions, Your Honor.
Jury, have any questions for Officer Pierre? Anyone else? Counsel Brooks? I'll go and answer the first question. It says, can you ask a question after a witness leaves the stand? Fortunately, if the witness happens to be recalled for some reason, you possibly could. Dr. Pierre, the jury has a question for you. I'm going to ask it, but if you could face the jury when you answer this, okay?
Yes, sir.
For clarification, this location is where the vehicle was found.
Yes, the 900 Mountain Creek Road was a location where the victim's vehicle was located.
Can you redirect based on my question?
Your Honor, just one to help clarify for the jury based on that question. Officer Pierre, I'm going to show you what's already been marked as the state's exhibit 3, 4, 5, and 6. Well, 4 is duplicative, so there's 2 there that'll look very similar. But if you could look at those real quick. Do you recognize those photos?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am.
What are those photos from?
Those from the parking lot at the apartment complex at 900 Mountain Creek Road.
And would these be screenshots of your body footage?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am.
Nothing.
You recross.
Thank you.
General Code of Service.
Your Honor, the state would call Megan Dean.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear affirm that the testimony about to give
Hi, Ms. Dean. Can you say your full name for the court's record for us?
Megan Ashley Dean.
And Ms. Dean, are you employed? Where do you work?
I work at Walmart.
Okay, and which Walmart is that?
Single Mountain.
Is it called Single Mountain Road?
Yes.
Okay. How close in proximity to Mountain Creek Road is your Walmart?
I would say maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10.
Okay. How close is your Walmart to what we call the North Shore?
Maybe 5 minutes.
Okay. Do you know how close your Walmart is to Sup Creek Road? Okay. And in November of 2022, were you also employed at the Walmart?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what is your role, explain to the jury what your role at Walmart is.
I work in asset protection, so I review video, and basically investigate.
Do you recall in November of 2022 being contacted by investigators with the Chattanooga Police Department about possible video footage, or evidence of receipts?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall who that was?
I don't remember the name exactly.
Female, male?
It was a male.
Okay. And is that something typically in the normal course of your job that you would be asked?
Yes, ma'am.
What type of video system does the Walmart on Single Mountain Road have?
We have basically video. It accesses all of the registers, it accesses the sales floor, back rooms, anything that you really need to look at in the store.
Who has access to that video equipment?
Only the people in my position.
Okay, and you know how to use that video equipment? Do you often pull security footage for law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that one of your roles?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any way to pull receipts from past purchases?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you do that?
We have a certain system that we go through, so we can either use a credit card, or if we have a date or a specific time, and we know the register, we can also pull it that way.
Okay, and so do you recall what the investigator came to see you, were they asking for a receipt, or were they asking for video, or were they asking for both?
Both.
And did they specify a time frame for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to pull that up for them?
Yes,
Did you go through that with them, or did you let them go through it?
I would go with them.
And, did they signify that they were gonna need to take some of that footage from you?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you in fact pull some of that footage and give it to the Chattanooga Police Department
I gave it to the detective.
that was there with you? Okay. And were you able to tell from that footage at what time, did the footage show a purchase?
Yes.
Were you able to, connect footage to a specific receipt of purchase?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able, in the Walmart system, to pull, again, for lack of a better term, that receipt?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you do that for investigators?
I did.
Did you give it to them?
I did.
I'm gonna, this before?
Uh-huh.
Have you seen it plugged into a computer before?
Yes, ma'am.
What's on there?
It is basically the video footage of Jason Chen and him selecting certain items, going throughout the store, proceeding to self-checkout and paying for stuff.
Do you recall what day the video was from?
I believe it was November 23rd.
And were you able to, based on reviewing that video, were you also able to pull the receipt that was connected to that purchase?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there multiple video angles on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is one of them from a register?
Yes.
Is it self-checkout? Okay. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the receipt that you were able to retrieve for the Chattanooga Police Department detective?
Yes.
And what date is on that receipt?
November 23rd, 2022.
Your Honor, I ask that both the jump drive of the video and the receipt be entered as the state's next two exhibits.
Exhibit 18 will be the jump drive, exhibit 19 will be the receipt.
No, it's not.
Ms. Bean, I'll show you on the screen behind you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 19. I've lost my pointer. Who knows where it's at? Oh, there we go. All right, so this is the receipt that you gave to the detectives. Again, can you, this date down here, 11/23/22, would that have been the date of the purchase?
Yes, ma'am.
And then if I can point you in the direction of, what, is that time correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are dates and times on these receipts normally correct?
Yes.
Okay. You can see here, there's a bunch of stars followed by 4189. What is that?
That would be a card. It would be a debit card.
Would 4189 be the last four digits?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you can see here expiration date,
Yes, ma'am.
0526.
Yes, ma'am.
Would that be the expiration date of the card?
It would.
Were you able to view what was purchased that's related to this receipt and to the video?
Yes, ma'am.
Was asparagus purchased?
It was not.
Was something else scanned on the video as asparagus?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall what that was?
I believe one was maybe some cereal bars, like some snack bars or something like that. I don't remember the other one.
Up here, and the state has no further questions for this witness.
No questions.
Jury have any questions for Mrs. Bean? All right, Ms. Bean, thank you very much. Ms. Evans.
Your Honor, may we approach?
is 10 minutes after 4. Good time to take an afternoon break. Or have the jury step into the jury room. We'll have you back in 15 minutes. And everyone in the gallery will be back. And that clock says 4:25. put the Pace family on this side of the room and the Chen family on this side of the room. I haven't heard of anything major, but, there's been some concerns about Nate's development. So the folks, the Pace family can stay exactly where they are on this side of the room. The folks sitting behind on the third row, I gotta have you please move back one row. If I could have the Pace family take this half of the courtroom, please.
One row.
No, hey, take as many rows as you need on this half. Okay, just this half. Yes, sir. You're ready. Let us know when you're ready. Yes. Okay, good. Back in the courtroom, please be seated. Call your name, please.
Your Honor, the state of Oklahoma, Hamilton, stand. Ms. Campbell, can you state your name for the court reporter, please?
Kelsey Campbell,
And Ms. Campbell, where are you employed?
the Walgreens on, North Shore of Market Street.
Okay, and how long have you been at the
At that store, about 4 years.
What's your position at that Walgreens?
The store manager.
Were you the store manager at that Walgreens in November of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm gonna draw your attention back to 2022. Do you recall at some point being approached by investigators from the Chattanooga Police Department about potentially looking at video footage from your store?
Yes.
Do you recall who that was?
Detective Cantrell.
Israel.
Cantrell.
Okay. And, can you describe for the jury what kind of video system Walgreens, at the corner of Market and Frazier has?
Yes, we have 16 cameras that are all throughout the store for the entrance, the parking lot, just monitoring who comes in and out and transactions and things like that.
Is that video, footage kept and stored in, on servers that Walgreens has?
Yes.
How long is it stored for?
I believe it's 60 days.
Okay, and do you have access to that footage?
Yes.
And did you have access in November of 2022?
Yes.
When police department investigators came to see you, did they tell you what they were looking for?
They just said that there was an ongoing investigation and needed to access the cameras to just review some of the footage.
And did you allow them to access that footage?
Yes.
Did you remain with them while they were accessing that footage?
I came in and out of the office while they had access to it, yes.
Do you recall what date range they were looking for specifically?
It was like the week of Thanksgiving. I think it was like the 22nd to
Okay,
the 28th or something like that.
and to your knowledge, did they locate video footage that they needed you to make a copy of for them?
Yes.
And do you recall how many videos or I don't know if that's the right way to say it, I'm sorry. How many downloads, how many
Yeah.
videos, I don't know.
There was 2 separate periods of time, I believe, was recorded about an hour before and after, for 2 different instances in that day.
What day?
The 22nd, was it the 22nd, I believe?
I'll show you some
Okay.
materials to see, but that day, they took 2 separate,
Sets of video, yes.
sets of video with them.
Yes.
And you have access to be able to actually extract that video from the server and give it to law enforcement.
Yes.
Do you do that in the normal course of your job?
Yes.
Okay. Showing you 2 jump drives, you can touch them and look at them. Do you recognize those?
Yes.
Have you viewed, the matters on those jump drives,
Yes. Both of them.
both of them?
Yes.
Have you initialed on those jump drives to signify that you've seen the footage on those?
Yes.
And what's on those jump drives?
Video footage of the 2 incidences from that day.
Okay, that you had delivered to the Chattanooga Police Department?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd move to make these 2 jump drives safe next to exhibits.
It was 2021.
Ms. Court Reporter, I've asked that the afternoon be 20. And Ms. Campbell, is there a way in the Walgreens system to connect a purchase with a video surveillance
Yes.
capture?
Typically, if we have a dollar amount or the last 4 of a card number, we can search and find times when those purchases were made. And then we'd use that to look at the video to see what happened.
Do you recall if that was done for law enforcement as it relates to these 2 videos?
Yes.
Did you look up the receipts that were connected with those 2 videos?
Yes.
And how did you do that in this case? By card number, by the video, do you recall?
It was by the card numbers. They had left up the screen where they had looked at one transaction. And then I looked up to see if there was any other purchases that day, and found another one, which was the second, I believe the second set of videos, that we found.
Okay, and you were able to extract those receipts for law enforcement?
Yes.
Were you also able to look at the receipts and verify that they coordinated with the 2 videos that you had given law enforcement?
Yes, because you'll see the time that it happened and the register number. You can relate the 2 together.
Okay, Your Honor, approach. Have you looked at those receipts? Do you recognize
Yes, ma'am.
What are they?
Receipts from my store on the 23rd of November.
Are those the receipts that you gave to law enforcement related to video footage? Your Honor, I'd ask that these be marked as states next to exhibits.
Next two exhibits,
Yes, Your Honor.
22 and 23.
All right, Ms. Campbell, I'll direct your attention to the screen behind you. We were unsure on the date earlier, but can you tell me what that date says?
Yes, November 23rd of 2022.
Okay, and Your Honor, for the record, I'm referring to State's Exhibit 23. Is this a receipt from the Walgreens at North Market Street?
Yes.
Okay. And payment details, what does this indicate to you right here?
That is the card, with the last 4 digits of the card that was used when they purchased the items.
Okay. And would 1:41 PM be the correct time of the purchase?
Yes.
State's Exhibit number 22. Again, same thing, is this a receipt that you pulled for law enforcement?
Yes.
And is it the date the same, 11/23/22?
Yes.
Would the time of 7:03 PM be accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And again, payment details, can you read the last 4 digits of that card?
4189.
Ms. Campbell, are you familiar with the North Shore area?
Fairly.
Do you know how far away from Tremont Street or Tremont Apartments the Walgreens that you're the manager at is?
It's within a couple blocks.
That's great, then. Do I need to disconnect my computer?
Defense has a question.
Any questions for Mrs. Campbell? All right, the first question is, can the jury watch the videos? And the second is, how did you find out the car belonged to Jason who purchased the items? This information will be provided by another witness. Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, the state's next witness is Scott Miller.
Yes, sir. Just gonna go right this way.
Yes.
Hey, Council Campbell will be released.
Won't be released or taken over. Sounded swear from the testimony about the truth, all the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Mr. Miller, can you say your full name for the record?
Ibby Thomas, Scott Miller,
Okay, and, Mr. Miller, where are you employed?
at 900 Mac Creek Road, which is Signal View condominiums.
Okay, do you have other, jobs in?
I do as well. I work at Baylor School, providing their security in the afternoons.
Do you have a background in law enforcement?
Somewhat.
Okay. And so you said, let's go back to Mount Creek Road. What apartment building is at 900 Mount Creek Road?
Signal View condominiums.
Okay, condominiums. you know approximately how many condominiums are there?
484,
Okay, that's a large complex.
yes.
And how long have you worked as security? at
29
those?
or 30 years,
29?
yes,
Do you, I wasn't expecting that.
yes.
I didn't even know they were there that long.
Yeah,
Do you also live there?
I do not.
Okay, all right. So as a security officer, if you're called, you have to come actually from your home to.
No, we work there during certain hours.
Okay, what hours do you work there?
At the point in time where this event occurred, we worked from 5 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon to 5 in the morning.
Okay. So in November of 2022, you were obviously working this position.
I was,
And you were working at night
that is
during
correct,
the night hours.
yes.
And do you recall being contacted by the Chattanooga Police Department, specifically Officer Mackenzie Pierre,
Yes,
about the family that was in the?
That is correct. He
parking lot?
requested me to come down and speak to him.
And do you recall what the circumstances were?
The found vehicle was the initial, and then obviously the missing person.
Okay, did you communicate with the family there on
I did,
the grounds? And, at some point, were you asked about video footage?
I was.
Does Signal View, apartment, the condo complex have video footage?
They do.
Okay, did they at the time in November two thousand
They
twenty-two?
did.
And when you were asked about if you could look at that, what was your initial response?
I could, the camera footage we used, I couldn't look at from the property because it's, the complex had it installed from the EPB, which, so the video footage is stored offsite at their server. So I had to go home to access it from my personal computer.
So you can access, a camera that was installed by EPD from your actual home?
Yes,
And do you often access that camera when the need arises?
yes, if I'm questioned about a certain time frame.
And does that happen every so often?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And on this night, did you let the parties or the police know that you were gonna have to go home to look for that?
I did.
Were you instructed by anyone as to what specific time frame you were supposed to look for?
I believe so from the evidence that her mother had provided me from the time frame of when the car had arrived there, that which narrowed down the time frame.
Do you recall at some point the family coming back, after their first visit, did they come back to Mount Creek?
They did.
And what was that for?
We discussed, I believe, footage and then some phone data that they were discussing about our phone being to the different location.
Did you review the video footage there with them?
That footage, I did not, because I cannot.
Did you retrieve it at that time for the Pace family, Jasmine's family, or did you later give it to the Chattanooga Police Department?
I remember later to go to the Chattanooga Police Department.
Okay, and, do you recall what day that video footage was from?
Oh, I have no idea. You would have to tell me what day it was from.
Okay, so
I just know it was around Thanksgiving.
okay, and you pulled, the footage at the request of the Chattanooga Police Department?
Yes,
And it was from the Signal View condos, which you
Yes.
had access to?
that is
All
correct.
right. Can you jump drive? You recognize that jump drive?
I do.
Have you seen what's on there?
I have.
What is on there?
This is footage from the camera that is mounted on the front of the office that aims toward the pond area at the complex.
In fact, did you review that, what was on that jump drive with me as well?
I did.
Okay, did you write your name on there to signify you had seen it?
I did.
Okay, and, does it accurately reflect what the property looked like in November of 2022?
It does.
Okay, and, this is the exact video that you gave to the Chattanooga Police Department?
It is.
I'd ask that this be introduced statements to the judge. I'm sorry, my, colleague reminded me that our jury is not from Chattanooga, they don't know what EPD is. Do you know what EPD is, sir?
It is the electric power board for the city-owned electric power board.
Okay, so they,
They provide security cameras, footage, internet service, and other things.
okay. And at some point, on the video footage, can a vehicle, a white SUV vehicle be seen coming into the property?
That is correct.
In the direction that that vehicle is traveling on the video, is it towards the area that Jasmine Pace's vehicle was located?
It would, yes, it would be about 100 yards or so away from
Okay.
where it was left.
Okay. Nothing further, Judge.
In case you forget, I don't think she gave me that footage.
Okay, Mr. Miller has it.
Oh, you did. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, we will likely see that video later, but does the video show an individual getting out of the vehicle?
No, it does not.
And does it show any person driving the vehicle?
It does not, from the angle is too far away.
And how long did it take you to retrieve that video?
Probably a few hours.
And when did law enforcement come back to you though with a request for it?
Probably the next day.
You originally had spoken with Officer Pierre of the Chattanooga Police Department?
That is correct.
And you've known him for some time?
Yes, that is correct. We work together on it.
And was he the officer that it was turned over to, or was it another officer?
No, it was I would term it as a homicide detective.
And you mentioned a few moments ago that you sort of had a background in law enforcement. What can you tell?
I was a reserve officer for the Red Bank Police Department, which is a small municipality in here.
And what years were you a reserve officer?
I'm going to say from 2010 to 2023.
Okay, and reserve officer, can you explain what that means?
Yeah, it's the same. We usually don't have a set schedule, but you have just full powers, just like a regular law enforcement officer. You just have to be accompanied by a full-time officer.
And are you still employed at these condominium?
That is correct.
Thank you, sir.
You redirect.
No, Your Honor.
Jury, have any questions for Mr. Miller? Mr. Miller, thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, will give me one moment. Your Honor, this witness will be lengthy. In fact, I'm absolutely confident he'll go into tomorrow. So it's just up to the schedule at this point is up to the court because we'll be able to begin, but certainly won't get through all of this direct examination.
We started a little late today, so I like to get as much done as we can today.
Sure. Your Honor, the state would call investigator Zachary Crawford to the stand.
You may read your vote.
Investigator Crawford, can you say your full name for the court's record?
Zach Crawford,
Okay, let's talk about yourself for a few minutes. Where are you currently employed?
currently employed at the Chattanooga Police Department.
And how long have you been at the police department?
Started with Chattanooga Police Department in the year 2013.
And when you started in 2013, what position were you in?
At first, I was hired on as a police cadet, where I went through approximately 6 months of training before moving on to a field training program. And then after graduating the field training program, I was employed as a patrol officer at the city of Chattanooga.
And how long were you a patrol officer at the Chattanooga Police Department?
Just a little over 3 years.
And after your 3 years in patrol, what did you do next?
I applied for a position within the major crimes unit, specifically for a homicide position. Through the interview process, I was selected and began training with the homicide unit.
All right, so you've been with the homicide division for how long?
Since 2017.
So 2025, so roughly,
About 7.5 years.
you're going on your 8th year.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want to talk to you a little bit about the way that the Chattanooga Police Department works. Do you know roughly how many people work for the Chattanooga Police Department?
The number fluctuates, I think somewhere around 427 employees.
Would that be sworn law enforcement
That's correct.
officers? You're not talking about like support staff, you mean sworn officers?
Yes,
Okay, and is the department divided into certain departments or divisions?
yes,
Will you explain to them how that works?
yes. So we have multi-tiers within the Chattanooga Police Department. The first line, obviously, is our patrol units, which make up the neighborhood policing. They have 3 different sectors across the city. They're broken into smaller areas, include districts. I think early testimony we talked about districts. Specifically, in this incident, was mainly in the area of Alpha North. Inside of Alpha North, there are 5 districts. So there's lots of districts throughout the city. So you have neighborhood policing. The other branch of it, you have community policing. You do community events, engagements. You also have special events. You have 2 different branches of the investigating unit. You have organized crime and you have violent crime. I'm assigned to the Violent Crimes Bureau, and that makes up crimes unit, homicide unit, fugitive, and organized crime has anywhere from our gun team to traffic and some other things along those lines. Besides that, we have internal affairs, and we have multiple other avenues such as recruiting. There's different branches within the police department.
What about property? Where does property fall?
The property division.
Yes, sir.
The property division is located at the Chattanooga Police Department at one of our annex buildings. And all of our property technicians are sworn civilians. But they do have a sworn supervisor, a sergeant, so a police officer that oversees the property division at the Chattanooga Police Department.
What you heard Officer Pierre testify, but what typically would patrol, at what point as a patrol officer are you instructed to call someone else?
We have different SOPs or
What's an SOP?
standard operating procedures for different things. One of those is investigations. So depending on what you respond to, what criteria it meets, you would notify the responsible investigator that would potentially respond to that. So any crime or incident that potentially would require lengthy follow-up. Obviously, a patrol officer is kind of kept to a specific shift, but that shift is then rotated throughout the week. Obviously, they don't have the ability to follow up extensively based on their call load in terms of how many calls are coming out for districts and areas to follow up on those things. So that's why they would call an investigator out. And that investigator will then conduct a follow-up, whether it's during normal business hours, during after hours. As an investigator, there's many times that we're on call. I know as a homicide unit, we're essentially